I know a lot of people have already been talking about the Game Awards and all of its controversies, especially surrounding the video game Dispatch and Expedition 33, but I do want to switch a little bit of the ballpark here. My biggest issue is actually with the art direction nominees. All of these games are gorgeous, no doubt about it, not even questioning it. But all of these 4 games, right? Silk Song, Hades 2, Ghost of Yotei, Death Stranding 2 are already existing franchises. There are iterations of previous games that already have an established art direction. I'm not trying to say that these games aren't beautiful. Man, I've seen some stuff from Ghost of Yotei. Holy like this game is gorgeous, okay? I'm not saying that they do not deserve a nomination, but they are still iterations of a previous franchise. They are building up from a previous generation. It's not a new creative vision. There are so many other games that could have been taken into consideration for this prize that have done some amazing things. The Midnight Walk is one of those games that has been handcrafted and then photo scanned. Everything that you're seeing was actually made handmade. This is a unique game. There's not that many games that have done this. I can only think about games like Fantasian. How did this game not even get a nomination? To a T is another game that has a super unique art style. I mean, regardless if you or I like it or not, that's not the point. We need to like look at these games on an art direction standpoint and really go for that, right? To a T is trying to be a childlike game, and its art direction follows exactly that language, and it does it perfectly, in my opinion. Heck, I'll even say that the first Berserker Kazan is more interesting in some aspects, especially this unity between the photorealism and the anime-esque sort of style of the characters. It's really unique. I think there's a lot of people, there's a big community out there that has always been looking for a game that kind of goes for this route instead of going like full-on anime. South of Midnight. I know this game has had a lot of controversies. I've played it. I do not think it's a good game on a narrative standpoint and even on a gameplay wise, but the art direction of this game is phenomenal. It is what it is, folks. We need to separate art direction from the actual gameplay and narrative. Those are 2 different things, okay? By Sweet Carol is another great example, an indie game that was mostly made, I believe, by one person. Oh my god, the gameplay, I really did not like the gameplay for this game. But the art style? Look at this. This is insanely beautiful. Have you ever seen anything like this in the game industry? This is heavily inspired by Disney visuals, especially from like the 30s and the 40s, and it's done amazingly well. And it didn't even get a nomination. Dispatch is another game that I think does art direction very, very well. I mean, this is not a game that I personally enjoyed on a narrative standpoint also, like at all. I did not enjoy. I think this is a super overripe game in that sense. But on an art direction standpoint, this game is gorgeous. My point is more like all of the games that I showed you right now are games that are pursuing a new sort of art style, and they did it one better than others, sure, but they did it pretty well, especially like the Midnight Walk. The Midnight Walk is a beautiful game, man. It is astounding to me, especially taking into consideration the behind the scenes, because yes, that takes a toll on how you view a game, man. One thing is realizing like, oh, this is AI. Or your thought is like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, if this is AI, you don't appreciate it as much as if it was actually handmade. And there's also this thing that people don't take into consideration because they don't know. Even especially journalists, I would bet, is that a lot of these games right now, they make use of pre-existing assets from stores like the Unreal Engine Marketplace. Expedition 33, which is my game of the year, and it's a game that I absolutely adore, makes heavy use of this. They make heavy use of metahumans and they make heavy use of megascans, and there's no problem with that. But that is just something that in terms of art direction and giving out awards should be taken into consideration. Folks, again, I don't take the Game Awards seriously. I really don't. Like, I don't take any Game Awards seriously. The moment in the Oscars that La La Land lost to that other movie that I forgot the name, I was done with awards. Generally speaking, La La Land is one of the best movies out there. And Rocky in 1976, winning the Oscar for Best Movie against Taxi Driver? Get the hell out of here, man. So I'm kind of vaccinated to that sort of stuff, but if these guys are presenting themselves as like the Game Awards, the show, and we've already heard from Sven from winning Game of the Year for Baldur's Gate 3 that, you know, this sort of awards really changes your life and opens up a bunch of different doors. So this should be taken seriously. It is what it is. I think there's just a lot of changes that need to be made here. There's a lot of things that need to be changed, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. I don't know. I don't have the answer for it. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. At least in terms of the art direction nominees, I think there is a big problem right now. And can I just say this? I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy, okay? Best sim strategy game. We have 6 nominees. One of them is Final Fantasy Tactics, The Ivalice Chronicles. It makes absolutely no sense that this game is in this category for 2025. This is a game that came out in 1997, and it's basically a remaster of that game that added 0 new content. I do not understand how this game is in this Game Awards at all. But yeah, this is just my little call out to the Game Awards. I love the show. I think the show is amazing. It's the new E3 sort of show. I do think that, you know, if you're going to be the Game Awards, even if you have the mentality of not taking too seriously these games and the awards, so to speak, the problem is that that's not what you're passing, right? That's the issue. That's not the idea that you're giving off, especially on a visual standpoint, man, because you really go for it. And art direction, which is like the thing that I understand the most, at least, I think there's a big problem here. I think there's a problem because a lot of these franchises are basically established franchises that have already an established art direction, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I think if you're making a new game with a fresh new visual idea, I think those games should at the bare minimum get a recognition for nomination. If you ask me, 2 of them should have been South of Midnight and The Midnight Walk. I think a lot of the problems with a lot of these games is either they're just too small and nobody really knows them, or they just didn't sell, right? And when a game doesn't sell, it doesn't feel great to like put a game that didn't sell in the forefront of a nomination for Game Awards. And I kind of understand. I think, unfortunately, if you want to be nominated for these, there needs to be a balance between, okay, did this game sell and is this game good? But yeah, I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be some people that are really not going to agree with me, and that's fine, because I think there's a lot of people, at least from the discourse that I've seen, that do not know how to separate art direction from the rest of the game in terms of narrative, politics, gameplay, and everything else. 2 different things, folks, okay? But yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you folks next time. Over and out.